So before we actually create views for ourselves, right, or create actual renderings, we're going to have to set up views. All right. So with renderings, is you can see when you go through the actual rendering dialog that you can render just a typical 3D view like this. All right. But generally speaking, is what you're going to want to do is create kind of 3D perspective views. All right, to be able to run a rendering of. So if you go to a floor plan, all right, and we go to view, all right, and under 3D view, if you use the drop down, all right, as you can see camera, all right. And now what the camera does is it allows you to place a kind of 3D perspective view, all right. So if we click on camera, all right, it's relatively simple to place, all right. The first click is going to be kind of where you're standing with your camera or your perspective view, all right. So if we click here, all right, and you can see that you kind of draw out where your cone of vision is. Okay, so let's say I want it to look like this. All right, I'll click, and it goes and creates our camera view for us. All right. Now, while in this perspective view, all right, as you can see that we have the crop region here, and we can drag it to make this view a little bit larger. All right. But as we're dragging and clicking to make this a bit larger, all right, our field of view, all right, keep in mind that by doing this, all right, this is actually making that cone of vision that we originally placed, it's actually making it bigger. So not only just side to side, all right, but if we click and drag the top section here, it makes that higher, all right, drags the bottom section of our cone down as well, all right. And so that being said, right, that cone of vision basically represents kind of like your cone of vision of what you're looking at, okay. And the way that these perspectives work is it works very similar to your own eyesight. So if you can think of, we're focusing directly straight ahead on, this part of the wall here, right? And if you think of the way that when you look at something, you do the same thing as you focus straight ahead, let's say on whatever is in front of you, right? And then you have your peripheral vision on either side, okay? Is as things get into your peripheral vision a little bit farther, all right, is the vision and the way that that object is viewed is a little bit more skewed because it's in your peripheral vision and you can't see it directly, all right? So what you'll notice is the more you drag this cone out, all right, and you'll be able to see that you can actually drag this cone for as far as you want, all right? But the more you drag it out, all right, and you'll notice it a little bit more when you get to an interior perspective, all right, but the more distorted the objects on either side start to look, all right, and basically that's because you're opening that cone of vision up more and more, all right, and so that it looks a little bit distorted as you get farther out to the sides here, all right, so just kind of keep that in mind. If there is, you want to start to see more of a spot or a room or a building or anything like that, and you start to drag the sides of your cone here out a little bit too far and things start to look distorted, all right, you might want to go and move the camera back a little bit more as opposed to stretching the sides out, okay? But once we have our camera placed, all right, in our spot, we can move, again, the crop regions here, right, which represent our camera, okay? But what we can do is if we scroll down in the properties for a 3D view here, all right, as you can see that it acts exactly like all of our other views, all right, your 3D view, okay, you can rename it. Under camera, all right, you'll see you have eye elevation and target elevation, all right, so basically this is referring to, eye elevation, basically what height you're standing at. You're looking at it with the camera here. Target elevation is wherever you clicked off here into space is the elevation that's looking at, okay? Now, when you're in your camera view, you can still use the shift key in the middle mouse button to kind of rotate yourself around, right? Which you'll notice that you can use to, kind of get a little bit better of a view, right? You'll see that those elevations and things change a little bit different, okay? All right, so it rotates around and navigates the same way as a regular 3D view would. All right. Now, what's nice you can also do as well is if you come here to back to the floor plan, all right, and we remember we placed that camera out here somewhere. let's say you wanted to move where the camera is standing, all right, without having to rotate around, or let's say you wanted to drag it back a little bit. All right, if you look under your project browser here, in this case, that 3D view 1, all right, is that first perspective that I placed. If while we're in our floor plan, all right, if we right click in the project browser, right, on that view and scroll up to where it says show camera, right, if you click on show camera, right, that brings up that camera view again. All right, so that way if you wanted to move here, you know, where this camera's sitting, you can click and drag and move that around. All right, so you can adjust that kind of after the fact, right? Again, by right clicking on view in your project browser and doing show camera. Okay, and so that kind of allows you to move that camera around a bit, all right, as well as, you know, not only just the camera spot, but the target as what direction it's looking at. Okay, that changes ourselves there. All right.